Hey guys, what's up? Dave with AAA Coach here. Today we're going to talk about dry fire myths exposed. Stay tuned. Like I said, we're going to talk about the myths of dry fire training. Now, to caveat, dry fire training can be good for you. So if we just continue down this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Dry fire, I do believe it's an essential function to understand your firearm intimately and to become better. I 100% believe that. It will build muscle memory and it will build consistent shooting technique. However, if you're doing the wrong thing over and over and you don't know that you're doing the wrong thing, you know that saying, you don't know what you don't know. Well, you're going to build muscle memory and you're going to build consistent technique, but it's all going to be wrong. You'll have to relearn it with a professional instructor later. Dry fire does really help to practice, obviously, dry practice, dry fire, whatever you want to call it. It really helps when you're on a tight budget. You can dry fire or dry practice anytime you want, in your home, in your hotel, whatever. Obviously, make sure the firearm is clear before you do so. So these are things that are good about dry fire, but they can also be bad, right? Dry fire myth number one. Dry fire will enhance your skills. That's a myth because it may or it may not. It just really depends on if you have any skills to begin with. Again, if you continuously train the wrong thing over and over and over and you go to dry fire, it's going to enhance something, but it's not going to enhance quote unquote skill. It's just going to enhance your inability to hit the target even more. Okay? So that is a myth in my book, because if you do have the skills, it can enhance those skills. You see what I'm saying? But if you don't have the skills, or you don't know what you don't know, and you don't seek professional guidance, well, you're just going to be continuing to train the wrong thing. You can only use snap caps and dry fire. That's myth number two. I'm sure there are some firearms out there that if you dry fire them without snap caps, you will damage them. As a 24-year veteran of special operations, and in 2004, I went to 5th Special Forces Group. Ever since I started in 5th Special Forces Group, I had carried a sidearm for the remainder of the time until 2024. The firearm that we had was a 92 series Beretta when I first joined the Special Forces. Years later, we were able to acquire Glocks. Some of us even carried 1911s. Yes, we dry fired the 92 series Beretta, the 1911, and the Glock, and I never had a problem with dry fire. Not once. I didn't break a firing pin. I didn't break a hammer. I didn't break a sear. I didn't break anything in either one of those firearms. And we didn't use snap caps. We used nothing, actually. Zero. So that is a myth in my book. Of course, I'm using anecdotal data. I'm sure there are some firearms out there that you shouldn't dry fire without a snap cap. However, I think it's more of a marketing ploy than anything. Dry fire is only useful for beginners. So myth number 3. Dry fire is useful for everyone. But again, I'm going to caveat that with having some skill. The only way you can have some skill is actually getting professional training. Getting training from your father or your uncle or something of that nature is not professional training unless they were also professionals, obviously. So my son, when I teach him, my eldest son, I taught him, he does very well. My youngest son, when he's ready to be taught firearms, then I will be teaching him. I believe that I'm a professional instructor. I believe that I can teach damn near anyone, if not everyone, how to fire a rifle and a pistol accurately. Shotguns, I'm a little bit iffy on that, especially when it comes to trap and skeet. I can't really teach those. But when it comes to rifle and pistol, I'm there. I'm your man. Now, if I was at the range and another buddy of mine, another special forces guy that I knew and trusted, if he wanted to give some insight to my son, by all means, have at it. My cousin? No. My father? No. The local police officer? No. See my post-standard video above to show you why. A regular NRA instructor that just got his instructor certificate maybe last week? No. It has to be a very professional individual that's been doing it for a while and can actually prove it. And there's only a handful of individuals that I know off the top of my head that can actually prove it outside of the Special Forces realm, for example. Those are the three myths that I'm busting today when it comes to dry fire. So how can you actually maximize your dry fire effectiveness? The very first thing you need to do is seek professional help. You need to seek professional instruction, coaching, if you will. My company is called AAA Coach. It's that for a reason. We do coach firearms. You can schedule a 2-hour session with me, and from the beginning to the end, you will be better at the end of that. But what if you've already been shooting for a while and you think that you can shoot well? Okay, I get it. But you're going to have to prove it on the range. So the way we do it here is we do an assessment. My coaching style is just like this. We go to the range. We meet at the range. We have a shoot-in drill. I give no instruction, zero, and I just watch you. As long as you're not being unsafe, then I just let you shoot in this assessment drill of mine. I then assess whether you need to be pushed further, maybe faster, maybe need to be pushed closer or slower. Maybe we need to work on your grip, trigger squeeze, trigger reset, maybe your stance, whatever it is. Those who have been shooting for a while tend to be the ones that are more difficult to actually correct than anyone who has never been shooting. And that's true even when I was a Special Forces Weapons Sergeant instructor for 3 years at now, again, Fort Bragg. I would not suggest going to your friend and saying, hey, dude, can you teach me? No, that's not the way to do it. They're going to teach you the wrong thing, and then you're going to continue to do the wrong thing. And that's going to happen in your dry fire practice as well. So seek professional instruction, seek professional coaching. That's your number one thing you need to do before you start teaching yourself wrong things. Okay, dry fire practice. Focus on your grip and your trigger control. Grip and trigger control. Those should be your focuses. I'm not saying get rid of all the other fundamentals either, okay? But you need to focus on your grip and your trigger control. And what I suggest is using a Mantis X2, X3, or X10 specifically for those, grip and trigger control. That's number one. Don't get a laser of any sort before you get a X2, X3, or X10. The reason why you want to use the Mantis X2, X3, or X10, because it's going to give you feedback to what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So once you go and get your professional instruction, they're going to tell you how to hold the firearm. They're going to tell you how to squeeze the trigger. They're going to tell you all these other different things. And then you're going to take that knowledge home. You're going to use the Mantis X2, X3, or X10. You're going to you're going to start doing this dry fire thing, and it's actually going to give you feedback on whether you are anticipating, healing, pushing left, pushing right, whatever. And that will enhance your dry fire capability immensely. The laser is only going to teach you that you're hitting the target, right, with the laser, right? But the X2, X3, X10 is going to tell you if you're holding the firearm stable enough to be precise and accurate at the same time. Those are the only systems that I know of that do that exact same thing. And the X2 is only $100. Imagine the X2, you buy X2, you train with it for, let's say, 5 days in a row. You shoot thousands of times and you've only spent $100. Whereas if you bought the ammo to shoot it thousands of times, imagine how much money that is. So the next thing you're going to do after those other two things, so professional instruction first, then you're going to dry fire practice with Mantis X2, X3, or X10, and then you're going to get a Mantis Laser Academy, and you're going to start practicing from concealment, and you're going to present. Why do I do it in that order? The laser is a straight beam. There's no arc to it. Once you fire the laser, let's say you're dry firing with the Laser Academy or something of that nature, right? I tend to like the Mantis Laser Academy. Has a lot of things that you can do with it. It's great. It's a great system. A lot of targets, and it's only $100 too. So, but anyway, any laser you get, it's going to be a straight beam. There's no arc to that beam. There's no trajectory to the beam. So let's say you're dry fire practicing in your basement or in your room or whatever. Let's say it's 5 feet, 6 feet, whatever the case may be. You're going to sit there and you're going to watch this laser hit your target. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm doing really good. I'm doing super good. I'm doing awesome, right? I'm hitting the 10 rings every time, right? But honestly, you're not. It's not telling you. Now, the Mantis Laser Academy does give you some feedback when it's, anticipation and stuff like that, but it's not telling you exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. Whereas the Mantis X2, X3, or X10 does. So you're going to focus on those fundamentals first, grip and trigger control, and then you're going to start getting it out of concealment and presenting and trying to get faster at the process. You're going to focus on the fundamentals first and then start working your process, getting it out of concealment. So that's the third step. Now you're going to start dry fire practicing, getting it out of concealment, getting it out of the holster, getting it out of whatever you're doing. If you're a competition shooter and you're shooting USPSA, well, okay, it's not concealment, but you're getting it out of the holster and you're presenting. And every time you present, you should say, okay, is my grip correct? Am I presenting correctly? So on and so forth, right? So that's the reason why I put it in this order. And the last thing you can do to enhance your dry fire capability is incorporate different scenarios. So let's say you're at your house, you have a lockbox at your house. Put your lockbox where it's going to be. Do this during the day, right? And then do it during the night. Set a random timer or have your spouse help you with this. Randomly just say, whatever the keyword is here, intruder, for example, and then go and get your gun out and then have a Mantis Laser Academy up and then fire at that, right? Dry fire, of course. Okay. Make sure the damn thing's clear first, right? Do that. Incorporate that in your house. What about in your car, right? Here in Colorado, you're supposed to have it locked away if you leave your car, right? So let's say the scenario is you leave your car, you have to have it locked up, you put it in the lockbox or glove box or whatever you're locking it up with, right? And now there's a situation. You have to get into your car and then get into the box and then get your firearm out, right? You can incorporate all these different scenarios to enhance your dry fire capability and also to get you in the mindset of what you need to do. So those are all things you can do to help. So in the end, this is my suggestion. Number 1, seek professional training, guidance, coaching, whatever you want to call it. Number 2, you're going to dry fire with the Mantis X2, X3, or X10, and you're going to focus on grip and trigger control. Number 3, get the Mantis Laser Academy, and then you're going to focus on presenting from concealment or not from concealment, or however you're going to carry. And number 4, you're going to incorporate different scenarios in your training to enhance your dry fire training so you can get better and in your mindset as well. Those are the 4 things that I would suggest you do from top to bottom, like in order of precedence. Okay, so there are some other tools that you can use to enhance your dry fire capability. I've already talked about the Mantis Laser Academy, the Mantis X2, X3, X10. There's some other systems out there. Obviously, you can get snap caps and you can get dummy rounds and stuff like that to work malfunctions. You can do all kinds of stuff with that, or magazine reloads. There's also the Cool Fire Trainer you can get. Some of these things I'm an affiliate, some of them I'm not. You can get the Dry Fire Mag, of course, but the Dry Fire Mag, here's my caveat on the Dry Fire Mag. I love the Dry Fire Mag. I think it's a great system. It's going to work multiple targets at the same time without having to slide the rack to the rear. 100% that's what it's good for. But you're not going to get the same trigger squeeze, same resistance, same trigger. It's not going to be the same trigger with the Dry Fire Mag. So you need to practice with the trigger that's actually in the gun. You know what I mean? There's going to be a different feel of the trigger when you put a Dry Fire Mag in. So just keep that in mind when you're doing these dry fire practices, right? Have a purpose to why you're doing whatever dry fire practice you're doing. If your purpose is to multiple target engagements in depth or in width, and you don't want to rack the slide, great. Get the Dry Fire Mag. Click, 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 right? You're practicing transitioning targets. Got it. Perfect. That's your goal. But if your goal is to get more precise, your Dry Fire Mag, that's not going to help you get more precise with the trigger that you have in your gun. You see what I'm saying? There's definitely some pros and cons to it. There's this new virtual thing. I can't remember what it's called, but man, it looks super cool, right? But that's later on, right? If you're a beginner, you shouldn't be getting that and practicing all these other things without having the fundamentals down. So there are definitely some cool tools out there for you to enhance your dry fire experience, but you definitely need to focus on the fundamentals first, and then you need to, after the fundamentals are down, you need to focus on the mechanics of getting the gun out and presenting. And then obviously, even though you got professional instruction one time, you obviously need to seek more instruction later. That's 100% true, right? And you need to go to different instructors. Some instructors, even in the Special Forces realm, okay? I'm going to give a shout out to a sister company here, I-68. He's a Special Forces guy. We're friends. We know each other. We worked together when we were both in the service in 10 Special Forces Group. Okay, so Mark. I'm going to give a shout out to him, right? Now, he has some different techniques that he might use at the range. I had one of his old customers just the other day, and she said, Mark said this. And I said, well, that's good, but think about this too, right? And there's just some different things that each instructor can give you, and then you can put them in your toolbox and then bring them out to what fits you, what is comfortable for you. How do you shoot, right? How I shoot and how you shoot are going to be completely different. Now, I'm going to try to get you to shoot like me, of course, is what I know. And then Mark from I-68 is going to get you to shoot like him, of course, right? So there's just some things that you need to take away from each instructor you go to, and then that's going to make you a more well-rounded shooter. Dry fire with live fire practice. So when you go to the range, you should probably go ahead and do some dry fire practice first in whatever scenario you're using. For example, if let's say you're at Pikes Peak Gun Club and you want to draw, right? Well, before you put live ammo in the gun, you should probably draw and do some dry fire practice before you do live fire practice. Make sure you have everything down, especially when it comes to safety, okay? Make sure you're not going to shoot yourself in the knee, the foot, the ankle, whatever. Or even worse, shoot and it ricochets and hits an innocent bystander, and then that's no good for anybody. So make sure you dry fire the drill first before you live fire, right? Do that every time you go to the range. If you look at USPSA or something of that nature, IDPA, you can't do it. They won't allow you. But USPSA, for each of the drill, even in their head, they're going through each one of the stages and they're saying, okay, I'm gonna draw my pistol here and I'm gonna shoot 2 times here, 2 times here, 2 times here. Then I'm gonna move over there. Like in their head, they're going through the motions. They're not actually using their pistol, but that's a form of dry fire. It's getting your mind set, right? So at a bare minimum, you need to do that. Obviously, you want to track your progress. So if you track your progress, if you get the Mantis Laser Academy or your Mantis X2, X3, X10, you can track your progress. It saves your progress. You have a username, and in that username, you can go back years, right? I can go on my Mantis X or my Mantis Laser Academy. I can see how many dry fire shots or even live fire shots with the Mantis X3 and X10 that I have conducted myself and also handed it off to others, and I can create different profiles in there. Those are my things about debunking the myths of dry fire, and I'm also enhancing that dry fire is useful, but it can also be a detriment. And you need to seek professional instruction first before you go into the whole dry fire scene. Tack out.